Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a little while, but today I'm back. I'm here because I wanted to talk about something, and that thing today is the Kastaplast Berg. Odds are pretty good that if you've ever been online trying to research what approach disc to buy for your own bag, this has been recommended pretty much everywhere. If you were to go on any social media platform and put out a poll, this disc would get returned and responded about more times than I think anything else. So that's what we're going to talk about today. What is special about this disc, and should you try to put one in your own bag and try it out for yourself? Kastaplast advertises this disc, the Berg, as a 1 speed, 1 glide, 0 turn, and 2 fade. So how accurate is the disc to those numbers? I have with me 2 in K1. One is really beat up and one is pretty much new. And I have to say, trying these out, they pretty much fly very, very true to those numbers. For comparison, I have pretty much the closest mold that I've ever thrown to this sort of disc, which is the Innova Rhino. I have this one in R Pro, which is basically new. And the difference between the Berg and the Rhino is pretty immediate. You can actually tell the difference between the Rhino, which is listed as a 2-speed, versus the Berg as a 1-speed. The Rhino consistently went 30 or 25 to 30 feet further than the Berg did whenever I powered up on both of them. And the Rhino had a bit more fight to it at the end of the flight than the Berg. The Berg pretty much, whenever you put it on anhyzer, just wants to get to flat and drop. It'll hold straight for you and drop, or if you put it on hyzer, it'll hold hyzer for the entirety of the flight. It's true forehand or backhand, and it is relatively torque resistant for a disc of this speed. So as for flight numbers, I would say it's pretty true to the numbers. Going on to the grips, I actually, whenever I first got these, I didn't think that I would like it for a forehand because of the shape of the disc. If you look at Rhinos or Pigs or discs similar to that, there's a more pronounced edge to the thumb track along the perimeter of the Rhino, whereas the Berg has a far larger sort of, there's a pretty large radius about the entirety of the Berg, and the flight plate sits pretty recessed relative to it. But so what that means is whenever you grip this on a forehand, it feels pretty symmetrical in your hand. Like your thumb sits comfortably in the thumb track, and for me at least, this disc feels extremely comfortable for a forehand. And the result is pretty clean releases, and it's just extremely point and shoot. I tried several different angles, several different lines, and even powering up on this thing. It handles a little bit of off-axis torque. It will take whatever angle you give it, and it basically just auto-corrects that angle for you to basically just go straight and land on the ground. So, who is this disc for, and what is it for? Well, this disc is essentially for the person who struggles to maintain speed control, distance control whenever they're approaching the basket. This is the sort of guy who, whenever you go to pick up a putter, you're scared that you're going to overthrow the basket by 50 to 70 feet. That you just want to get your up and down and put the disc close to the basket whenever you're within 200 feet. For me, that's as far as this disc goes. I can throw it as hard as I want, and I can throw drivers up to like 425, 450-ish, and I typically throw putters around 300 feet. This does not go any further than 225 for me. The comfortable distance is 200 feet. And if essentially you're within that range and you have a pretty much straight shot at the basket, this thing is a pretty safe bet that you won't fly over. You can throw this as hard as you want, and it'll pretty much auto-correct for whatever errors you give it, whether that be speed, minor angle adjustments, or even off your line a little bit. It'll sort of help you out by correcting itself to straight and land basically flat where you want it to go. So if you're the person that struggles to consistently get up and down from 200 feet and in, and you want something to reduce the variability of your release, this disc is an excellent option for you. So that is the pluses of that, but there's a little caveat with discs like this, where in sort of, whenever you have a disc that accommodates for so many errors and variability in someone's throw, you have to understand that this disc will not help you improve your form or get better in any way, shape, or form. It essentially masks errors in your throwing form to the point where, yes, you will more than likely save strokes, but in the long run, a disc like a pretty neutral flying putter might be a better investment in your overall game if your goal is to try and improve your skill set. If all you care about is saving strokes, though, Berg is the way to go. This disc comes in 3 different plastics, K1, K1 soft, and K3. I have tried it in K1, K1 Soft, but I have not tried the K3. I've tried other Kastaplast molds in K3, and that plastic is phenomenal. All three of them are extremely durable. I would recommend the Berg in either K1, standard K1, or K3. The reason being, K1 and K3 are both relatively stiff, so if you want that forehand grip, it might be a little bit more reliable for you with that stiffer plastic. All three are extremely durable, extremely grippy, regardless of the weather conditions. And the only advantage to K1 Soft, I personally prefer that for my throwing mid-ranges, because I just like to rip into those. But for forehand discs, I generally prefer a stiffer plastic. The K1 Soft, I have found typically with Bergs just sits a little bit better, so it has a little bit more stopping power on the ground, and there's a little bit less ground action compared to the K1 and K3 on other molds that I've tried. Obviously your mileage may vary, but that's just what I've noticed. So K1, if you want just maximum durability, I have had this disc in and out of my bag for over a year now, and it basically flies exactly the same that it did the day that I bought it, and it doesn't show any signs of changing anytime soon. So K1, if you want to have maximum durability. K3, if you want to have a little bit more grip, sacrifice a little bit of that durability. But even at that, I'm saying that with a bit of an asterisk, Kastaplast K3 plastic, even though it is baseline, will hold up for a very, very long time. So it is sort of a worthwhile investment. So, should you buy one? Essentially, I think if you have a neutral throwing putter and you feel comfortable with that sort of shot within 200 feet, I don't think having this disc is going to benefit you much. If, however, you do struggle with that shot and you just want to be able to improve at that, and you want to get more consistent up and downs within 200 feet, and you don't want to have to think about, oh, how hard am I throwing this? What angle am I throwing this on? This is an excellent, excellent choice. So, Kastaplast Berg, awesome mold. Definitely not overrated to what people are saying. It is definitely worth the consideration if you want a disc in this category. I highly recommend it just to try one out, because they will last you a very, very long time. Kastaplast quality on their disc is second to none. It is incredible. So if you want a disc that you can throw as hard as you want and never goes longer than 200 feet and does so dead straight, Berg is the one for you. And that's pretty much it. So thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and potentially subscribe. I will be trying to do more review-esque videos in the future. The concept behind this is to try and give recommendations to people on what discs could go in their bag and what benefit it would have to each sort of player. This, I think, was an easy recommendation for players of basically any skill level, because regardless of how good you are, it's essentially going to do the same thing for everybody. It's just going to go straight, drop, and that's the entirety of its purpose, and it does it very, very well. So again, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.